Good afternoon, educators. First, I am coming to you from live Northern California, and I know it's a little bit later where everybody else is. I know we are in the true now, hopefully feeling like you are able a little bit more relaxed in your week, letting go of all your teaching and all that, and hopefully you can just kind of maybe find more time for you. So for those of you who don't know me, because I don't really come obviously in this group very often, I am Megan O'Brien. I am a certified grief coach. I also have a master's in counseling psychology. I have my own free Facebook group called Embrace Life Again. And I really help people go from feeling the depletion, the feeling of loneliness, the missing all the time from their person dying, to feeling that they can reinvest back into life, which for a lot of grievers is a really, really hard and tricky battle, because it's like no other journey that you can go through. And on Monday, I was just trying to compare a little bit of systemically where we all are as a nation, if you will, right? But today I'm going to just focus a little bit more, if you will, on the grieving process, the grieving of a loved one. And so just like on Monday, if we can just sit comfortably in our seat and put your feet down on the ground, and we're just going to have a nice landing breath so we can transition. Okay, so we're just going to take an inhale and then hold that, and then exhale, and then inhale, and then exhale. Oh, hi, Anna. Hi there. And that's always a really good thing. I said that on Monday, but it's a really good thing to do as a container, that I do that for every group that I start. When I do lives in my group, I may not, but literally when I start my grief group, certainly in person, I always did something like that, because we have the world of where we're not really grieving, where we're not really being held or contained. We have to be teachers or having other roles in schools, and we're go, 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 and we're putting on that mask. So it's a really nice transition to do for yourself that you can see, you can spend more time on it, but I even feel just a little bit different myself. So it's always just kind of a nice way just to kind of land, so you just can feel a little bit more present in the grief. So today, I want to talk a little bit about giving yourself a break, specifically in grieving. And so much of what we do as grievers is we kind of have to do for others, particularly around holiday. There can be just the overwhelm, and a lot of it is that push-pull. The push-pull of that you don't necessarily want to show up. You know, a lot of people in my group are actually going through not the lackluster of even wanting to put up a tree this year, that it's a really hard thing to go through. Do you want to put the tree up and put the mask on, or do you want to really find some way to have that joy? And it's not, you know, obviously it isn't whether or not you're putting up a tree, but it's really about the fact of trying to meet yourself in the moment. And so for today, I really wanted to kind of name, if you will, kind of that whole idea of really trusting your gut, your intuition. Because so many times, grief is multifaceted, and so many times we people please, if you will, right? We really people please of what maybe other people want from us. And we don't really want to let people down. And this can really come up with holidays. Now, obviously, I shouldn't say obviously, but most of us are following everything that we need to do to stay safe for the holidays. Where I live, we've been under restrictions for a really long time. So your holiday may look different. And if it does look different, this whole idea, again, of trusting your gut is still really vital and really important. And I touch base on this on Monday, but it's just that whole idea that if today, whatever day it is for you, that you feel that you can't really fully show up, commit, that you're really just in a swell of emotion that you can't really put your finger on it. It isn't a checklist, right? It's a very, we often describe it in grief like a wave, right? And so it's very, very difficult if you're going through grief to shore those feelings up at times, to say, yep, today I know it's going to be a hard day, right? Other things in life you can plan for, but you can't always plan how you're going to necessarily feel about something. And, it's all about the senses too, right? So, I just did a live about this in my group about the 5 senses. And it's being able to really kind of be mindful, if you will, and staying in touch with your feelings and saying, yeah, today I need to bundle up in the covers and just read my book. Today I need space from people. And I'm not saying the COVID space. I'm just saying emotional, that what you need as a griever, listen to that. Because unfortunately, if other people aren't where you are and they haven't lost a loved one, then they're not going to be on that same path as you, and they're not going to understand. You may get the social niceties, oh, how are you? But that really deep felt connection of wanting to hear, reflect, see you in your pain. So if you're feeling that way today or this week, right? We're definitely right now in the week of Christmas, right? It's so coming up. But if you're really there and you're struggling, then really listen to that intuition, what your gut is telling you, and feed into that. Because the more you do that, the more you're able to tap into that, as I tell my clients, then you're actually moving forward. Even though it may feel like, well, no, you don't understand. I actually went back in that moment and I had to retract a little bit and go inward. That's okay. That's part of the healing. So it's just giving yourself back to that. All right? So the second one is, and I made this really big point today in my group too, that I talk a lot about, trying to find a way to honor your person, which there's a lot of truth in that too. But in grief healing, the way we want to flip it actually is empowering ourselves, empowering us to say, wait a minute, I'm the one who's here. I am the one who is surviving my pain. I am here. So I need the tools. I need the tips. I need to be able to figure out how to move forward, even if it's tiny steps. We always say in grief healing, right, that 2 steps forward, 1 step back is still healing, because it's the yin and yang of life. It's that pushback. It's that natural kind of pushback. And so find those little ways that you can honor you, that actually make you feel good. For some people, that means you go out even though it's winter, and even here in Northern California, it's a little cold and blistery. Now, I know some of you are laughing at me where I'm living compared to the coldness that you feel, but it actually is a little bit cold today. I actually had to take off a couple of layers before I just have my short sleeve shirt on. But if going out, I know that that for me personally shifts my mood. Really hard pavement walking, or I love hiking in the woods and getting a little bit lost and finding your way, that brings me joy. Some people also like to journal write, where the actual exercise or being out in nature means nothing to them, but feeling connected to themselves is really through writing. So again, it's finding that way of honoring you so that you can really see that as, wait a minute, I'm not in fact just honoring me, I'm honoring my person through honoring me, because I am the living testament of that person. I'm still here surviving. Whether it was my husband, my mother, my father, my brother, I'm still figuring out how to integrate my life without them. So I talked a little bit about that on Monday, how you will still, 40 years later, I'm still depleted at times. Not all the time, but at times so sad that I lost my dad when I was 11. But for the most part, I'm pretty good. For the most part, I'm pretty good with all of that. But in the beginning, and if certainly this is your first or your second year without your person, it is a really hard thing to deal with. It just impacts people, the mind, the spirit, the body, all over. And so it's really honoring you is also about being kind to yourself, about saying, you know what? Ooh, God, I am really struggling today. I am not doing well, and I've got this bird in the other room to cook, and I don't want to cook it. And that's when I always tell my clients to always say, you need to delegate. You need to set boundaries so that you can tell people what you need or what you don't need in that moment. And again, by doing all of those things, that in fact is honoring you, so that you can take a little bit while you can still be in pain and you still feel like, you don't understand, Megan. I'm in so much pain. I can't figure it all out. I don't want you to figure it all out, right? I don't want you to figure it all out. I want you to literally get through today. And for some people, and if you're watching this and you haven't lost anybody to death, then you don't quite know what I'm talking about. But if I see Brooke and Julie, if you guys have lost someone in death, then you may be relating to some of the things that I'm suggesting. And again, these are all suggestions, but I'm coming from this as I've sat with a lot of people. I've done this work for about 8.5 years, and I've figured it out a little bit for me to how to keep moving forward. And then it's really important to be able to set your own pace, to move at your own speed. Anybody who's a griever, right, always hears this. Couple of things that really bother me. Let's see, time heals all wounds. When are you going to start dating again? Are you good now? Right? All of these are nullifying actually how you in the moment, how the griever is feeling, right? Sadly, your person has died. That's the fact. I do not have a fairy wand. I cannot bring your person back. But what I can do, what I can help you with, is help you push forward in your pain so that reinvestment back into your life is in fact possible. Because grief, it's not just multifaceted in the way that it's the spiritual, the mind, and mental. It hits people's behaviors. People start acting a little bit differently, right? On Monday, right, remember I talked a little bit about the grief depression. And it's a very real thing, a very real thing. So it's just leaning in and trying to be able to hold tradition exactly the way it is without communicating maybe your needs of seeing, do I need to set a place setting for this person to honor this person? Or am I unable to do that this year and just instead, only Zoom my person, my family, my friends, my church community, however you need it to be. But again, it needs to be on your timeline. If someone is then kind of speeding you up, and I have a couple of people like this in my group, I have done this work for a long time where this is a big thing because the outside world, right? We don't tolerate pain very well in our society. We don't really give that back to people where it's really that heartfelt, gosh, I'm so sorry that you're still hurting. I mean, I know it's been 7 months. In other people's head, that's a long time. So here's what I give people. Let's say that you've been with the person for 30 years, or say it's your mom or your brother, and they were your mom or your sibling and you're 35 years old. Well, that's a 35-year-old relationship compared to 8 months. So it's kind of like that, right? It's unbalanced. And right now, this hurt is right, it's just not going to equal the same. So the more you can give back to yourself and give back to other people, because honestly, people aren't trying to be mean-spirited for the most part. There are some comments that I'm blown away by that people have said to me, but also to my clients. So it's more about really tuning in and taking care of you. That metaphoric, if you will, the oxygen mask that comes down so you can really take care of you and assess what you need, because no one really knows and understands your pain as you do. So and sometimes it's a lot of kind of finagling, if you will, because we are not used to being put in that type of a role. And so then when a holiday comes up, the one thing that we love about holiday is the tradition of the holiday, right? That we expect certain things to be and hold us. That's honestly what makes us feel as people safe. We like the repetition of, this is what Christmas looks like, or this is what Hanukkah looks like. I know what to expect. And so when we don't know what to expect, a lot of fear comes up, a lot of sadness or anger, a lot of stuff can come up. So again, if you kind of do these things by really listening and tuning in to yourself, to really finding out that way that you can honor you and moving at your own pace. That is just one of the ways. I mean, this is, a talk that I'm doing right now. I did actually forget to put the link in on Monday. So my apologies for not putting in my link on Monday, but I will do it after this. So I did forget to do that. But, if this is something that's kind of hitting you and you're kind of like, that makes sense to me, come join my community. It's a growing community. It's an incredibly supportive community. Really, really supportive community. Because it's not, again, it's not just this time of the year. It's all throughout, right? It's all the firsts, and even the seconds, right? For those of you that have hit and have gone through successfully your first year, don't be surprised, or again, lean into kindness with yourself while you're healing if that second year feels harder. Because oftentimes what we do, we've already integrated all those feelings, but now it's really kind of felt. There is no denial left. We have lived it, but now our bodies are saying, I do not like that. I do not like being alone. I don't want to do this. And the missing and the longing become bigger. Unless, again, sometimes people actually hire someone like me to help them really sit and process and come up with a plan for them so that they can move forward in the pain. Because we all always have a choice, right? You can sit in the pain and let it swallow you up, or you can say, I'm in a lot of pain, but I still want to move forward. And to honor me, I got to figure out how to do that, how to keep moving forward in this. And, you know, it can happen, right? Traditions can change. Roles can change. We often, you know, don't like that whole idea that you can, like the role that you had with, say, I'll give the example of like your husband, and if he is not here anymore, then the role in everybody else in your family has then shifted, because then who you now are showing up is different. And so that's sometimes why I like to tell my grievers that the second year can often be worse, because you're still that first year figuring out who you are. What does this even mean? I don't know who I'm relating to. My husband always took care of everything, and I'm not enjoying this. And so a lot of times it's that kind of that denial that I had talked about on Monday that overtakes, and then people make that decision of, do I want to kind of be in this kind of, like we had talked about on Monday, like that grief depression all my life? Or do I want to say, there are times I really long and I really get sad for my husband, but I still want to live life. So I hope you all I hope this has helped a little bit. I know that there is so much that I could cover and that I do, cover in my group. But, if there's something that, and I know I just talked about this in my group too, that there's a lot of, even for reaching out and talking in Messenger or what have you, that there can be a lot of shame for even asking for grief help, because we're not a grieving culture. I just want to say that really quickly. We are the person dies, there's lots of support at the very beginning, and then I'd say about between the 2 and 4 month period, that just kind of trickles off. And that's where a lot of people, because that support is not there anymore, people feel all the big feelings. And so if we keep talking about the grief, if we keep talking and naming someone's name instead of avoiding talking about them, that can help too. But I'll put the link down below. Let me know if you guys have any questions. I know it's a really, really hard topic to even talk about, particularly if it is around Christmas. It's a really, it can be a really, really challenging time if it's your first or second time without your person. So thank you so much for the space, for Mallory and for Anna for creating this, again, this great resource for all of us. And I hope you all have just a really, really lovely, lovely break. And Merry Christmas to all of you. And oh, you're so welcome. You are so welcome. And yeah, I'll just say something really quickly about that, Anna. A lot of therapists don't know how to, I'm therapist trained, and I'm now separate from that, a grief coach. And a lot of us do not know, I can't tell you the number of therapists who've told me with my own personal stuff that I need to just move on quickly. And that's how, or the comment of, you're still grieving your dad. So I really appreciate you saying that, because we're not taught any of that in graduate school. So we'll take off the shame and keep talking, and I'll put in my link in a bit. But I hope you all have a good evening. Thanks so much for having me. Bye, guys.